All right, so the president is trying to unify the GOP conference, still divided over some key issues like Medicaid work requirements, SALT deductions, and overall spending. The math is tight. The clock is ticking. Speaker Mike Johnson wants this passed before the Memorial Day recess. A lot of uncertainty, though. One thing is crystal clear, however. Some Americans would see double-digit cuts in their tax bills under the plan and a hike if those 2017 Trump tax cuts are not extended. Congresswoman Kat Cammack was on with Harris Faulkner just a little bit earlier, Kenny, and she was talking about how they're very close. They want to take their time. They want to get it right. She's willing to work through the holiday weekend. Sometimes arbitrary deadlines can, make things a little bit difficult. But what do you think is going to happen?
I think they're going to do it before the weekend comes. I think that there's enough support there. They want to talk to it. There's still some tweaks, I think, that need to be done. But I don't think they're going to drag it through the whole weekend and create all this drama. I think they're going to vote on it by, they're supposed to vote tomorrow, Thursday. But if they don't make it Thursday, then they still have Friday before the weekend comes.
And one of the massive sticking points is still this SALT issue. What should the cap be, Dagan? And as we're sort of narrowing down on time and approaching the weekend, it seems like right now they're stuck at this 30 mark, but you have so many people saying it's just not right for the blue states and the wealthy people in those states to get a break, while other people then have to subsidize for them.
I don't even know where to start with this. I know that based on Fox's reporting that President Trump called out Mike Lawler. I would say he is Veruca Salt in chief. I want it, and I want it now. It's the Veruca Salt caucus, because they are a little teeny group of people who are in favor of the vast majority of taxpayers in this country subsidizing you and your donors to live in recklessly run, big blue, liberal, kleptocratic states. President Trump said to Mike Lawler, according to Fox's reporting, I know your district better than you do. If you lose because of SALT, you were going to lose anyway. President Trump calling out Mike Lawler by name is just the most MAGA delicious thing that I have maybe heard in my entire lifetime. Here are the numbers. And President Trump can sum up what is going on better than anyone walking on the planet. And when he was going into this meeting this morning, right about 9 o'clock, he said, referring to this group of people digging in their heels, they were offered $30,000 SALT cap with no phase out. Now, what passed out of House Ways and Means was $30,000 SALT with a phase out, which is 3 times higher than the current SALT deduction. President Trump said, the governors of New York, Illinois, JB, who's going nowhere, these are the people who want this, meaning a higher SALT deduction. The biggest beneficiaries of a higher SALT deduction are the governors from New York, Illinois, and California. Very blue states. That kind of sums it up. Mike Lawler, Elise Stefanik, Garbarino, LaLota. Who are you fighting for? Are you fighting for Kathy Hochul? Because as Jason Smith from House Ways and Means said yesterday, that we did the math. More than 90% of all of their constituents would be completely made whole under that $30,000 cap. We thought that was a fair balance. And with the $30,000 cap, the reason I get so angry, this is not about a spending cut. This is about spending with $30,000 cap, no phase out. It's $500 billion. You're not getting more. You'll be lucky to get anything.
Taylor? If the 2017 tax cuts are not extended, a lot of people are looking at a tax hike.
Yeah.
So all of
absolutely.
these issues are very important, but at the same time is of the essence, because we're still dealing with trade and tariffs and all this stuff, and the American people want to see this bill pass.
Yes, the American people, and I might argue the markets as well. One of the notes I read this morning said, the market signaled to Washington, we want the BBB tax bill, and we want it now. I think what's so interesting coming off of that Moody's downgrade, Deutsche Bank took a poll of about 450 institutional investors and market participants. 54% actually still believe that we're going to hit a 9% deficit by 2035. That's what Moody's was predicting when they're thinking about the downgrade. That's been some of the pushback on this bill, is people don't think it's been tackling spending enough or the deficit enough. Fascinating, Jackie. Only 5% think economic growth is going to grow our way out of a 9% deficit. So people basically are thinking that growth is going to help us, at least on the deficit front. A little bit more concerning to me, only 15% think that the market can handle a higher deficit in stride, the way it has in the past. So again, I'm wondering if the ceiling is a 5% on the 30-year, a 4.55 on the 10-year, and if it takes the market to start to push back at those levels for people to really understand why, in some cases, a lot of these people are pushing back and saying, we want some of these restraints to be kicked in now instead of 3, 4, 5 years from now.
Well, I think that's the key. When you phase something out 3, 4, 5+ years from now, it can get reversed later on. And we've all been in this game to know long enough that it will get reversed. So you need to make it now. You know, fiscal discipline's never fun. We try and apply it in our own lives. No one likes to cut back. No one likes to stop spending on discretionary things. But this is what the market needs right now. I'm with you, Taylor, and you, Kenny. Like, we can't go past Memorial Day or the market's going to fall off the cliff again. You're going to have Liberation Day sell-off 2.0. Yep. And I just think it is that dire. I think you're right. Investors are pushing back by selling bonds and pushing up yields. We're saying, like, here, this is the box that you put yourself in. You gotta cut your way out of it, and holding it up over a SALT deduction is not something that will pass with Main Street America. I mean, that is just insane if you think about it.
It's not just SALT. Medicaid is a big issue, and I just wanted to give you a moment to catch your breath because it'd come back to you on Medicaid. But Trump said this morning. Trump said, we're not touching anything. All I want is one thing. 3 words. We don't want any waste, fraud, or abuse.
Yep. We'll see what comes out of the Republican caucus with the final bill. We interviewed on the Bottom Line Chip Roy yesterday, and Chip Roy has caught a lot of heat along with the Freedom Caucus. Ralph Northam, they were 2. Norman and Roy were one of the 2 of the 4 who voted present on the budget bill that was passed on Sunday night. And one thing that Chip Roy, the congressman, was saying was that, to quickly sum it up so I don't bloviate on, and I don't even know if they touch this, they just want the work requirements on Medicaid for able-bodied adult men to start sooner.
Is there something wrong with that?
Right. But his bigger issue, and the kind of mainstream Republicans thought that this had been tabled and wasn't going to be touched, because the Medicaid expansion under Obamacare, the states receive $9 for every dollar in spend, versus they get $1.33 for every dollar in spend for people who are blind, the disabled, pregnant women, children. Those are the people who Medicaid was created for.
Correct. Right.
Not able-bodied working or non-working adults. So he wants changes to that formula to make it less generous for the Medicaid expansion, because there are 10 states that did not expand Medicaid under Obamacare, and they are giant states: Texas, Georgia, Florida, to name 3 of the 10. If they don't change the formula, and the generous formula that pays out $9 for every dollar in spend under the Obamacare expansion, the concern is that the states jump on the Medicaid expansion and you blow a hole of $700 billion to $1 trillion over 10 years into the budget. And you think that this country is struggling fiscally now? So that's one of his sticking points. I don't know where it goes, but that's a fight worth fighting. But fighting for you to be rewarded by other taxpayers for living in a craptastic state like this, get out of here.
We often do SAT word of the day or NLP. I think I'm going to nominate craptastic to be it. At 2 p.m. we can all vote and see if that wins.
It's not double taxation.
Yeah.
You chose to live in a high tax state. We don't have to subsidize that as a nation.
You're pointing, change the formula, because the formula is incentivizing these states that have no fiscal discipline or accountability to keep running their budget. So we got to start at the federal level and push it down to the state levels. I think you're putting your finger on this is one of those key elements more than anything that will impose financial discipline at the state level, right? Look, I mean, Senator Newsom saying it's Trump's fault that they're in a $12 billion deficit.
Yeah, no, listen, 100%. You're all right? That has to be changed. These able-bodied men that choose to sit at home have to get off the couch. They have to get out there to get it to work, and Medicare should be defined for who it was actually intended for.